Joining us now on the Picks for Polls podcast, we've got North Dakota State University offensive lineman Mason Miller in the house. Check him out on Twitter at Mason Miller 2387. He's going to be talking to us about his college experience and prep for the 2025 draft. Mason, I really appreciate you making this happen. I mean, how's it going today? How's your day been so far?
Good. We had some combine prep stuff this morning, or pro day prep stuff this morning, and then had a lift this afternoon. So just been grinding away.
Is that like what's the daily routine like? You know, because you're preparing for a lot right now. I know your pro day is coming up soon here, but what's that all about?
Yeah, so we do our O-line indie drills type thing at about 7:30 in the morning, then go right into our 40 starts or 40 run, and then the agility drill stuff at about 9. Got a little time for lunch, and then we're right into our lifting program at about 12:30. So the mornings are pretty busy, and then after that you do your recovery or whatever you need to do to try to get your body feeling better.
That definitely makes sense. What's on the lunch menu usually? Is that something you get to make yourself, or is it something where it's like the trainers put a plan together for you?
Yeah, we have catered meals, and they're really good. They're from Protein House. It's a place out in Hudson, Wisconsin, and typically it's like a burrito bowl. So we got steak, your rice, beans, whatever. Sweet potatoes are in there sometimes. So they're good. Get a little old after a while, but I mean, when you have the same thing every day, that happens. So
wait, are you allowed a cheat day at all, or is it just like, nope, this is what it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty laid out for us. I mean, all the meals are catered. I mean, you can have a cheat day any day you want, I guess, but you're only hurting yourself. So,
I mean, you don't sound like a guy who's taken very many cheat days. At least that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, because you're like, yeah, it sucks sometimes because, it's the same stuff, gets old, but got to stick to the routine here.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, on the weekends you'll go out to eat or whatever, but yeah, try to stick to the regimen as much as possible. So.
Well, I'm not going to ask you about your cheat day, regimen or any of that. I mean, we've all had those, right? But I need to ask you this. So it's the world of transfer portals and all that. Guys will go play at 2-3 different schools and then decide, hey, we're going to go to the next level. You're unique in the sense that you've been at North Dakota State all 5 years. I mean, coming out of high school, what made North Dakota State such a good fit? And kind of why just stick with the program in terms of being able to stay there your whole college career and not want to transfer out?
Right. So I actually grew up an hour north of Fargo. So Fargo is where NDSU plays. So I was always watching the Bison growing up, and you kind of fall in love with the success that they have, and just the culture that they have there. So it was really a no-brainer for me to continue my college career at North Dakota State. And then once you're there, opportunities arise where you can leave, especially in the world of college football today. But when you build something or you're a part of something like that, you don't want to leave before your end goal is done. And obviously the end goal is winning a championship every single year. And we didn't do that the couple previous years before this year. And then, to finally have it all come to fruition and it all, to win that championship your senior year, I mean, that's the reason why you stay. And, obviously competition probably isn't equally as good throughout the entire FCS as it is the FBS, but there's still a lot of really, really good players at the FCS level that are going to make a push in the NFL, and they're going to make teams, and they're going to have successful careers. And, a lot of that, I mean, Gray Zabel is a name that comes to mind, and one of my teammates, and they're talking about him going in the first round. So you can get anywhere you want to go from North Dakota State.
That is definitely awesome. You mentioned playing some tough competition. I mean, throughout your college career, what were some of the toughest teams that you maybe had to play? Or I even go so far as saying, like, name 1 or 2 guys, defensive linemen, that you just felt like always sort of made you work on every single rep.
Right. I think, obviously the first team that comes to mind is South Dakota State. That was our biggest rival. They beat us every single time my first 4 years, and then we got them both times we played them this year. So to have that our senior year was a lot of fun. Probably the toughest player I ever played against was I can't remember his name, but he played for Mercer, DN from Mercer. He was a pretty sporty cat. So definitely, it was fun to face that and go against that in my career.
I mean, that's awesome. I love the rivalry games. I think that there's nothing better in college football than the camaraderie that you have with the guys in the locker room, the coaching staff, plus the rivalry games, because it just takes everyone's mindset to a whole other level. But, you're an O lineman. I mean, I got to ask you this, right? I know I don't look like it, but I've coached high school offensive line in the past, all right? You can laugh at me, don't worry, because I was a skill guy by heart, but I got to ask you this, right? When you are on offense, what's your favorite run play? Is it inside run scheme, I should say, inside, outside zone, or is it a gap scheme type thing? And of those, what's your favorite play to run?
I think definitely this last year it turned into inside zone. Before that, it was power. We run it a little bit different than a lot of teams do, where it's a gap specific. This year it definitely turned into a inside zone party at times. So I enjoyed it.
Do you feel like the differentiation that you had, from your first couple of years all the way till sort of your last year, right, in terms of learning the different schemes and stuff, just is going to help you as you kind of get ready to get to a point where you're taking on, an entirely new atmosphere, an entirely new playbook?
Yeah, I mean, we at North Dakota State, we had every play every play imaginable, and whether it be A gap power, C gap power, counter, duo, inside zone, outside zone, pin pulls. I mean, we ran it all. So just to have that knowledge of different schemes and how to run that different type of stuff, and different installs during the week. Hey, we're running our pin pull this way this week, and then the next week it's a different way. To have that adaptability, I think, is going to translate pretty well at the next level.
I mean, that's awesome. You mentioned just getting ready for the week. Take us through what a typical week during the season for you was like in terms of classes, practice, film room, weight room, and just the whole process leading up to that Saturday.
Right. On Sundays, we typically get together as an O-line and watch the previous week's game. Our coach would break it down and have notes for us, and then, we would the upperclassmen would kind of coach up everybody, and and then Sunday night by ourselves, we're watching the last couple games just to kind of get a feel for how the team plays. Monday, typically you go through and you watch normal down and distance, just get a feel for what a player does, what a defensive end will do. Safety structure a little bit, but that's kind of more a Tuesday and Wednesday thing when you're watching third down, just to see that alignment. If there's any tells in the secondary, or D-line tells if a guy's lining up a little bit further back, or they're running some sort of game. Just on Tuesday, Wednesday we do that, and then Thursday is really short yardage, goal line emphasis for film watching for myself, and then weights are Monday, Thursday typically. So just a good little rundown of the week, I guess.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, I tell myself all the time, if the only thing I could do was coach football in life, that is literally all that I would do. But let's talk, communication, because you guys, I could tell just doing research, watching some North Dakota State games this year, at least what was televised in the part of Illinois that I'm in. I mean, I saw a group that was just super sort of together. You guys, all five of you guys were on the same page, and that kind of led to the rest of the offense getting on the same page too. I'm curious to know, what is your relationship like with the center and the guards when it comes to the communication that you guys need to have in terms of audibles and certain reads and protections?
Right. I think, well, first of all, we all get along really well off the field, which helps with our camaraderie on the field and our communication on the field. But otherwise, I mean, really this year, the experience was in our tackles. So that's who did a lot of the communicating. Center would obviously give out mic points, but, we're saying, hey, there's pressure coming from the right or from the left, or, if we see something in the middle, we'd always try to alert that. And, we're just trying to communicate it loud enough that it can get passed down the line. And, I thought we did it maybe a little bit rougher at the beginning of the year, but towards the end of the year, we started to really pick up and, gel well together.
See, I feel like that's football in general, where it's you kind of, when the real games start, you have to kind of go ahead and it takes like a few weeks to get into the groove of everything. And then ultimately, when the weather starts getting colder, that's like everyone sort of starts to hit their stride. But for you as a player, right? I know you're super versatile because you got experience starting at guard, but also tackle. I mean, what do you think some of your strengths are as you get ready to go to the next level?
Right, I think my ability to finish. A lot of guys will talk about, oh, I finished the play, but you go and watch the tape. Like, there's borderline times where I should be getting a penalty for blocking after the whistle. So that's kind of something I pride myself on is my relentlessness to go out there and break my opponent. In other words, get in their head in that regard. And then, just always being around the ball. I mean, I think that's really huge as offensive linemen. A lot of times, a ball can pop out. And I actually had a fumble recovery this year from being around the ball. And technique is what it is. Like, you work all week on your technique, but winning the rep is what's important. And, just my determination to be physical is also there.
So I gotta ask you this because I saw a bit of a smile on your face when you talked about how there's times you kind of get away with a penalty, blocking like a couple seconds after the whistle. When you go back and watch those specific plays on tape where you're like, haha, I got away with it. What's the feeling that you get? Like, is it just like, hey, this was a routine thing, or it's like, man, I really mauled that guy and I'm excited that I didn't get caught for it?
I guess I've never really thought about that, but it's kind of you giggle about it a little bit when you're watching it on film. Like, oh yeah, I got him on that one. So
it's fun, right? Because it's like O-line to me is the most underrated position, and I would say this, like, being someone that's had to cover the Bears and seeing like inconsistent O-lines over the last few years, I've just been like, all right, well, this is sort of like you need to have a good offensive line. But, in terms of you getting to the next level, right, your measurables and all that type of stuff, like, do you see yourself fitting more as a tackle or a guard, or do you kind of see yourself playing whatever role the coaching staff needs you to play?
I'll play anything. I mean, the best ability is availability, but you look at the statistics of everything, and a lot of these tackles are pushing 35-inch arms, which is a crazy statistic. I'm a little bit closer to that 34, so I think I've got good enough feet to be able to play inside. Might have to bulk up a little bit more to handle some bull rush in there, but like I said, I mean, I've been working on snapping the football, so really, I mean, like I said, the best ability is availability and to do whatever you got to do to play. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like teams are now just saying, hey, we're going to take a guy that played tackle or guard in college and just convert him to a center. So the fact that you're practicing is certainly a major advantage. I need to ask you this, right? You mentioned bull rushes. So when you are studying defensive linemen each week, like the individual guy that you have to go up against, I mean, what specifically are you looking for on film in terms of the moves that guy uses, in terms of how well that guy moves, studying his measurables? I mean, take us through studying your individual assignment and opponent.
Yeah, so a lot of times when you get a guy that bull rushes, you got to have those hands up, and it's more of a boxing fight. Like, you got to be able to strike and be tight hands, because if he gets into your chest, I mean, it's game over. These guys are 325 pounds and can bench the house. So, get those hands in tight and strike early, and you got to keep them away from you. A guy that's a little bit more speed, you can get away with a little bit wider hands. I mean, you don't want to go give them your chest, because a lot of those guys are fast, and speed to power is a real killer too. But you can get away with a little bit, wider hands and stuff like that. And just, you pick up on tendencies. And so it's just all stuff to be aware of. But, I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is I'm better than this guy. I'm going to go win this rep. And what I do should dictate what he does. Not what he does dictates what I do. Should be the other way around. So just being the aggressor and going out there and, setting the tone.
So let's talk about that for a second, right? Like, hey, I'm going to win this rep every single time. I mean, just being realistic here, football is the type of game where sometimes a play is going to go your way and then other times a play is not going to go your way, right? So describe the mental aspect of your game in terms of just like how you mentally prepare yourself throughout a game to just keep going no matter what the results of the last play was.
Right. I mean, you have to have a really short memory when it comes to football. I mean, the minute you start thinking you've made it or you're doing a really good job, that's when you get humbled. So to stay that even keel, and when something bad does happen, it's got to be water off a duck's back. It's just got to be next play, next moment. I mean, it could be you get beat. Okay, well, I got to recover right now. So it's all about how consistent you can be in your finishing, really. I mean, you could get beat in an instant, but if you finish really well, you could win the rep. So to have that ability to translate and maneuver yourself to win the rep, I mean, and if you do lose, I mean, like I said, it's got to be water off the duck's back, and you got to move on to the next play because the next play could be a touchdown. So.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Also, I've never heard the saying "water off the duck's back." Is that like a North Dakota thing?
It might be. I don't know. We use it. We use it quite a bit. So.
All right, I'm going to do research on that later. I mean, one of my backgrounds is history and geography too, so we'll kind of have to look at all of that. But okay, so I got to ask you this, right? We're a Bears media outlet. We're a Bears podcast. What do you know about the city of Chicago? Have you ever been here? And then what do you know about the Bears fan base?
I'm not too familiar. Obviously, I grew up in Minnesota, so as a kid, I was a Minnesota fan, always rooting against the Bears. But they're on the up and up. The moves that they've made in free agency is really a testament to what they're doing with the program, and they're going to become real contenders, in my opinion. I mean, Caleb Williams is a stud quarterback, and then they really bolstered their interior three. I mean, with signing the Falcon center today. So yeah, it's really cool. And when you're a kid, you grow up, and everybody always talks about the Bears and the '85 defense, and our O-line coach would always reference it. Well, that defense not the '85 Bears, So it's kind of fun to joke around, and but yeah, it's a really historic program, and hopefully it gets back there soon. So.
I mean, I hope so as well, just for my own sake. But I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like you mentioned Minnesota, and me being like, there's obviously the football fan in me, and then there's just like the guy in me that's just like, all right, whenever football's on, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. I've always enjoyed watching those sort of Bears Vikings matchup, just because it's like there's always those moments I feel like that both teams want to make you like throw the remote at the TV or something, because it's like something happens. I mean, have you ever had that, honestly?
When watching professional sports, all the time.
Yeah, so I got to ask you this, right? Like, we have talked so much about, the football side of things, just all the great stuff that you're doing at North Dakota State. I mean, let's go back to high school. What is a memory that you had throughout your high school career that you feel like is always going to stick with you no matter what? To the point where it's like, even when your playing days are over, you're going to be like, hey, this is a moment that I always remember because it helped shape me.
Right. Spending a lot of time on the bus with teammates and friends. I mean, where I'm from, every game's an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So there's a lot of camaraderie built on buses and friendships that'll last. I mean, that's really why a lot of guys play sports, is the camaraderie that you have with fellow people and teammates. And sometimes they don't even enjoy playing the game, but they enjoy hanging out in the locker room and stuff like that. So I think, that kind of molds you and shapes you into the person you are. And I mean, some of my best friends are guys that I really enjoyed hanging out with on the bus rides, and I mean, spending all that time with outside of actually playing sports. So.
Yeah, I will say I was thinking of this morning, right? Because it's like I'm ready for the high school season to be here, because it's like I need to get back to it. Like, I love the weight room and stuff, but it's like, hey, I need to get back to like just being out there on the field. And I'm like, the most probably underrated Friday nights feeling is the sound of the buses pulling up, and then that like door opening, and you hear like that squeaky sound, and just like getting everybody loaded up tends to definitely be, I think, the most underrated part of Friday Night Lights. But I mean, take us through some sort of players that you maybe looked up to while you were growing up at the NFL level in terms of guys that you always watched and wanted to model your game after.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, growing up, I always loved defense growing up. So my two favorite players were Jared Allen and J.J. Watt. Just love watching them play. And then as I started playing a little bit more offensive line, guys like Lane Johnson really stick out. I mean, Panay Sewell right now is just an absolute freak show. So just to kind of, watch those guys and develop and, try to implement some of the stuff that they do into your game is pretty cool.
So, what about Lane Johnson and Panay Sewell made them your favorite? Like, is it just the way that they move, the tenacity that they played with? Take us inside that.
Yeah, I mean, Lane is he's just a freak athlete. I mean, being able to move how he does at 315 pounds or whatever it is. And, he does a good job playing with, he does a lot of up and under stuff, which is, what he's done, does it really, really well. And then Panay Sewell is just a freak of nature. Able to move his body like that. I mean, he looks like a tight end running around out there, but at 350 pounds or whatever he is. So just that athleticism that they play with, because like I said earlier in the interview, technique is what it is, but as long as you win the rep, you're doing a good job. So then they do that very, very well. So.
Yeah, that is definitely a excellent point. Like when it comes to O-line, you can never, ever, ever, I feel like, emphasize the technique enough, but last one for you here. I'm so curious to know, right? So we talked a lot about who you are as a football player. What about when you're not in the weight room, when you're not in the film session, like when you are not on the field? Who's Mason Miller as a person?
Right. I love to hunt and fish. Grew up in a farming community, grew up working for my neighbors, and I absolutely fell in love with that. So whenever I'm not on the football field or in the weight room, I'm trying to do one of those three things. So
have you gone fishing at all this year? Has the weather been like too cold for you to go?
We went ice fishing the other weekend. It's out of season, but as long as you don't keep them, you can still fish. And I got a plan to go fish on the Mississippi River tomorrow. So, yeah, just enjoy it, I guess.
That's entertaining. It's like 70 degrees here for the first time since like September or October. So I'm definitely going to get outside after this and enjoy the nice weather that we have. Because, the one thing you should know about Chicago is if you end up here, one day it'll be like 60 degrees. The next day it'll be like 30 degrees. But I'm sure you being a Minnesota guy, you're used to the fluctuations in temperature.
Oh, yeah. I'm from the northwestern part of the state. So you never know what you're going to get.
I know it is so crazy, but before we get out of here, where can people follow you on Twitter and the world of social media? Maybe plug your Instagram so that people can keep up with your journey over the next few months, but also over the next few years.
Yeah, I'm not very active on any social media I have them, but I rarely go on them, so I don't really post or anything like that. So I'm not not really one to follow on social media, I guess, but.
Hey, that's good. I'm glad you responded to my request for this interview. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for doing this, and keep in touch. If there's anything we can ever do for you here at the Bear Report, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be more than happy to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Thank you very much.